I celebrate Che Guevara's birthday every year, if for no other reason that it gives me the opportunity to block on social media the usual suspects, the maniacs who have half-digested, half-true stories about the great revolutionist who was an Argentine who fought for the liberation of Cuba. Although he was not Cuban, he was an Argentine and Cuban revolutionary who fought for the liberation of the people of the Congo. Though he was not Congolese, neither was he an African. He was an Argentine, Cuban, and Congolese revolutionist who gave his life trying to help liberate the people of Bolivia, who are finally, helpfully, and thankfully now liberated. I never celebrate the birthday of Donald Trump, but I'm paying particular attention to it because Joe Biden this week became the very first president in American history to send his chief election rival to jail, to indict him on government orders, and to have him indicted and taken to court under arrest as a convicted felon. The game is as clear as can be to almost everyone. Only the most stupid pussyhat could possibly, still with a straight face, pretend that this prosecution of Trump is anything other than political, and not even political, but electoral. It is quite clear that Donald Trump has the beating of everyone else in the Republican field, and thus would be Joe Biden's chief election rival. We used to call countries that put their opposition leaders in prison banana republics, like Pakistan or some of the former Latin American banana republics. That's what the United States has become. Joe Biden has the beating of nobody. Kamala Harris is laughing all the way to the bank because nobody in their right mind imagines that this Alzheimer's patient could possibly be fielded again in 2024 with anyone believing he's capable of serving another 4 years as the President of the United States. And therefore, Kamala is next in line, unless somebody gets to her also. The Congress has begun articles of impeachment against both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And that might be the Democrats' only hope. Because if Donald Trump would make mincemeat of Joe Biden, just imagine what he would do to Laughinggas, who polled 1%, less than 1% of Democratic Party votes when she last ran for president. It's all a tangled web, which is what you weave when first you practice to deceive. The idea that if you can't beat them, jail them, should be the practice of the world's most powerful country, a country deeply involved with 800 foreign bases, with nuclear weapons strewn right across the world, a country of such importance that the question of who is its president is the property of the world. It is a global matter of concern. The state of mental and physical health of the President of the United States, the likelihood that he will be succeeded by Kamala Harris, is enough to keep anyone awake at night, either in the garden or out there in the jungle. And people are now paying close attention. Tucker Carlson's not someone whose birthday I would normally celebrate either. Although, like a stop clock, when he's right, he is right. Twice a day and more, increasingly more than twice a day. Tucker Carlson on Twitter gained 100 million viewers for episode 1 of his new mini series. on which he's been slapped a subpoena, a cease and desist order from Rupert Murdoch and his children. Whoever will succeed there is a matter that we'll be following closely, because like Silvio Berlusconi, the most tangled web is involved in both of their media empires. Tucker Carlson got 100 million views. And in his third episode, which is the most coruscating, the most courageous, the most epic 10-minute broadcast you will ever watch, and you will watch it. If you have not yet watched it, then I beg you, implore you to watch it after this show. It is the most brilliant piece of broadcasting that has ever been aired anywhere at any time. And I include some of my own greatest hits. Tucker Carlson completely, with laser focus, destroys not just the neocon lair that Donald Trump so foolishly surrounded himself with. He names names. He provides receipts. He doesn't just lay into the transparent maneuver on which the prosecution of Donald Trump depends. He identifies a precise date at which Donald Trump's goose was cooked. And it's a date that will surprise you. It is the day in the Republican presidential debates, before he was even the Republican nominee, never mind the victor over Hillary Clinton in 2016. It is the date during those presidential debates when Donald Trump accused them, they, and everybody knew who he was talking about, the swamp. He accused them not only of invading and occupying Iraq on a pack of lies, but he accuses them of knowing that it was a pack of lies they were telling, and he accuses the media of deliberately lying to their viewers and their readers in the run-up to the prosecution of and the bloody aftermath of the Iraq War. And Tucker Carlson is right, because you can get away with many things in American politics, in British politics too, but you cannot get away with going to the heart of the foreign policy crimes of the United States, and for that matter, the United Kingdom. Ask Jeremy Corbyn. You can argue about tuppence on the income tax or off it. You can argue about what colour to paint the walls in the corridors of power. You can argue about which shoe, left or right, to put on first. But you cannot expose the lies, the mutual, bipartisan lies that have led the United States and Great Britain into one disastrous foreign policy disaster after another, costing the lives of millions, costing the expenditure of trillions, costing the infrastructure crumbling everywhere you go in the United States, in the United Kingdom, and indeed in almost all of the NATO countries. Because that breaks the ultimate taboo, which is this: that what we call a democracy is in fact a one-party state. Sure, there's a rubber stamp parliament. Sure, there's a pretend opposition. Sure, there's synthetic fire and fury between them before they slip off to the bar together to enjoy a gin and tonic on the terrace of the House of Commons, and no doubt the same in the American Congress too, because they are divided on the things that matter least. On the things that matter most, they speak and act as one. Republican and Democrat, Conservative and Labour. They are two cheeks of the same arse or ass, to translate it to that country to which we are closely related but divided by a common language. Two cheeks of the same ass. And we know what comes out from in between them. And that is the political crisis that we now face, crystallized in Britain over the last few days. I made it clear on Sunday night in this very chair, my feelings about Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson should be on trial, but not for having birthday cake during a COVID lockdown that was broken by everybody, it turns out, including the people that put Boris Johnson on trial and effectively kicked him out of the parliament to which he was elected. Not just elected as a member of parliament, bad enough, but kicked him out of office when he had won a general election with 14 million votes and an 80-seat parliamentary majority. I said at the time, I say it again now. This was a coup. This was a coup emerging from the same deep, dark swamp that consumed Donald Trump also. The deep swamp of the civil service, the bureaucracy, the deep state, the dark swamp of the one-party state to which I refer. The deep swamp of the corporate media, absolutely controlled and enthralled in equal measure to the political class that they serve, echo, and help to guide. Boris Johnson's crime was Brexit. None of these great organs of state could stomach the fact that the British people had voted to leave the European Union. A fat lot of good it's done, because we're no better off now under Brexit than we were before it. In fact, we seem to be closer to the European Union now than we have ever been, marching in lockstep towards cataclysm and disaster in the war in Ukraine. Speaking of which, the Germans will not immediately be able to replace the Panzers that are now burning on the steppe at the hands of Russian forces. But they will replace them by the end of the year. If that's not a signal to Moscow to get this whole thing wrapped up before the end of the year, I'd say you should have seen it coming, because NATO has doubled down, despite what people speculate. Despite the attempt to blame Ukraine for blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline, as Seymour Hersh said on my show on Sunday, the dogs in the street know that the Americans blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. But as video re-released today shows, little soldier Schultz was in on it from the beginning. He said so in German, which I can now speak a little, thanks to the launch of our MOATS of Deutsch. We will do it together, said little soldier Schultz, when Joe Biden said that if Russia invades Ukraine, we will deal with the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Schultz said, we will do it together. And indeed, they did. Schultz committed a crime not just against the German people, but against the consumers of cheap and reliable gas all over the European continent. He sent inflation into orbit. He left people cold in their homes. He caused the dismantling of whole factories, machinery and all, and their shipping off to the United States. He plunged Germany into recession. Germany is the most important economy in Europe. And when Germany catches pneumonia, the rest of the European Union begins to die. But he committed a crime against the environment, which oddly has not been commented on once. Google it and see, not once, by little Greta Thunberg. I did it the other day because I couldn't believe that it could possibly be true. But Google Greta Thunberg's statements on the blowing up of the Nord Stream 2 and you will find nothing as clear a sign as you could wish for about the true nature of the eco-warriors and the XR rebellion and all the net zero zealots and who they really are working for. But it also speaks volumes about the politicians who at COP after COP after COP in city after city after city have been literally in tears about the dangers to our environment by the release of gases from the farting of cows. But I have nothing to say about the release into the atmosphere of the greatest leak of methane, a deadly gas many times more deadly than CO2. They have nothing to say about it. Indeed, they collaborated. The United States, Germany, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Britain, all of them collaborated in this great act of eco-terrorism. An act of terrorism even more profound in its global implications than that which attacked the Twin Towers and elsewhere on 9/11/2001 in the United States. That crime that Schultz and Biden committed should have been recalled today when Joe Biden, reading for once quite clearly from the auto cue, or is it his earpiece, said that global warming, that climate change was the existential threat to the existence of humanity. No, Joe, it's you. It is you that is the existential threat to the existence of humanity. That's why I hope Donald Trump brings you down. I hope that Tucker Carlson helps him to do so. And by the way, on the principle, if you can't beat them, join them. I'll be doing my own Galloway on Twitter coming very soon. But stay tuned, because for the next 1 hour and 40 minutes, it is the mother of all talk shows.